The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, welcome to the January 2017 Virtual Roundtable. Today we are talking about Idaho Commerce Year in Review, and I have with me managers from the various commerce programs, and they will be giving updates on their programs and then talking about the year ahead, any highlights or upcoming opportunity. So here at the table we have Matt Baroud. He's the Chief Business and Marketing Officer, and he'll be talking about the legislative updates and the iGEM program in place of Carmen Ochmo, who's out of the office today. We have Dennis Porter from the CDBG program, Jennifer Verdon from our international program, Dan Norton from Idaho Tourism, and Susie Davidson, Business Attraction Manager. So a couple of reminders. If you have any questions, please type them as they come up and we will get to them. And also this is recorded, so if you would like to rewatch it later or share it with all your friends, please just let us know and we can certainly get you that information. So with that, I will hand it over to Matt.
Thanks, Amanda. Again, my name is Matt Baroud. I'm the Chief Business Development and Marketing Officer here at Commerce. So I will be going over a couple of our legislative bills that we have planned for the session. These are our only two bills. And then going over some of our iGEM program information as well. So in terms of our legislation, we have two bills that are out there currently. One is our tax reimbursement incentive micro bill, and the other is our data center bill. So beginning with the tax reimbursement micro, for those of you that are familiar with the tax reimbursement incentive, it was passed in the 2014 legislative session, and it is a incentive designed for existing Idaho businesses and new businesses to the state. And the program states that if in an urban area, which we define as 25,000 residents, a business creates 50 jobs paying at or above the average county wage, they are eligible for an incentive or credit, a reimbursement on their payroll, sales, and income tax. And so when a community has less than 25,000 residents, they need to create 20 jobs, again, at or above the county wage, and they receive the same eligible payroll, sales, and income tax credits. As our new director, Ronk, traveled the state last year and visited with many communities, particularly rural communities, there was a lot of feedback that said that 20 job threshold is a little high for some of our rural areas. And rural economic development is incredibly important to our department and incredibly important to the state. And so the micro program is designed for communities with less than 5,000 people to create 10 jobs, and that's at the same wage thresholds and at the same requirements for community contributions and all the other components that roll into TRI. All of that is intact. This just adds essentially a third tier for communities with 5,000 or less residents to create 10 jobs, where a project would then be eligible for the incentive. Anything to add to that? There's people in here who know this program better than I do. So
No, good to go.
That's it? Okay.
Yeah.
So that's our TRI micro bill. Second bill is a data center incentive. And this is a bill that has been talked about for a number of years. Certainly as consumers, we all are using our phones, and more of our technology is housed in the proverbial cloud that has to live somewhere. And so there are very large data centers being constructed all over the country, and Idaho is an ideal location for data centers. We have an abundance of land, we have temperate climate, low natural disaster rates. So a lot of companies look at many of the attributes that Idaho has when thinking about housing a data center. But these data centers are multi-million-dollar capital expenditures that require constant updating. And so sales and use taxes can be very, very difficult on these types of businesses as they're looking to house a new data center. So essentially our bill would provide a sales tax exemption through a rebate on all data center eligible equipment in data centers located throughout Idaho. An existing Idaho data center, which there are 7 throughout the state, will have to invest $5 million in eligible equipment in 1 year to qualify for the rebate. So as an example, if an existing data center spent $4 million in FY 2018, they would not qualify because they did not hit the $5 million threshold. But if that data center were to spend $5 million on eligible equipment, they will receive a 100% sales tax exemption on that equipment, and it's $5 million and over. So you would receive that for anything over the purchase amount. That's for existing Idaho data centers. For new Idaho data centers, they will have to invest $25 million in capital investment, and that can be brick and mortar in addition to data center and server equipment. And they will have to create 20 jobs that are at or above the county average wage, so similar to our tax reimbursement incentive thresholds, within 2 years of operation. So once the $25 million in CapEx and 20 jobs are created, they will then be treated as an existing data center, and they will be eligible for 100% a sales tax rebate. So this bill will have a sunset clause on it. We're asking for this incentive to run through 2024, and the rebate would be issued by our friends over at the Tax Commission. So that's a bill that we're excited about. Like I said, there's a strong economic impact associated with each of these projects. These typically employ very good engineering, computer science, technology-related jobs and employees. So it's something that we're excited about that we believe will have an impact statewide. So those are our 2 bills. Any questions? Or?
Not pertaining to those 2 bills.
All right. Well, then we'll move on to IGEM. Okay. So IGEM is managed by Carmen Archibald, who was unable to be here. Happy to be the stand-in. IGEM has been around since fiscal year 2013, and it is a commercialization grant program that connects university research with private sector partnership. The idea being to take university research and commercialize it to enter the private sector as a product or a service. We work with Idaho research universities, so Boise State, ISU, and U of I are the only eligible universities, and all the funds go to the universities. And so a simple way to look at it is think if a business has a research and development project that they are not able to complete in-house, if they choose to partner with an Idaho research university, the IGEM program will pay for the university's time to complete this project. We accept applications year-round. It typically is about a 6-week process from submitting the application to when a approval or denial is issued. Grants range in size. We're certainly trying to encourage and trend toward larger grant sizes. Typically, we see those being more impactful projects, and they're generally 1 to 2 year projects. To receive an IGEM award, there does need to be investment from the industry partner. It can be financial or in kind. And as I said earlier, it funds research that has a commercialization goal or commercialization end to it. So it can be things like testing, prototyping, design. There's a variety of different eligible costs, and it's all cost reimbursable back to the university. So looking at the program over the years, and then the FY16, So far we've had 70 applications and have been able to fund 20 of them for just about $3.8 million. We had 18 applications last year and we're able to fund 6. We did fund a little bit over our general, the budget is generally $950,000. We were able to spend a little bit more last year because there was some additional supplemental funding through department savings in other areas, which we were able to roll into a few of our grant programs, and iGEM was a beneficiary of that. As you can see, we receive a whole lot more requests than we're able to fund, which is generally a very good thing. So we're hopeful that as these requests continue to grow in quality, that we will be able to increase the funding that we're able to award and award more and better projects. Again, going back to the number of applications and those funded, U of I has received the most awards to date at 11, with Boise State at 6 and ISU at 3. Part of an important thing to remember about the iGEM program is that it is competitive. The application process is extremely competitive. The funds are not just divided by 3 between the research universities and distributed equally. Our council, our iGEM council, which is a governor-appointed 12-member group, 1/3 are represented by the private sector, and so it's very, very much a competitive evaluation to take a look at which are the best projects, which have the best return on investment for the universities, and award accordingly. There's some great partners, as you can see here, some big names like MWI, Micron, Simplot, AgriBeef, On Semiconductor, and then a few smaller groups as well. Blue Water, Biocement, Gen Z are all growing startups, and so it's great to see the mix in terms of companies participating, from some of Idaho's largest, most well-known businesses to some that are just getting up and running. And in terms of industry clusters, after a few years, it's been really interesting to see how most of the projects have fallen into 4 buckets. Food and animal, human, chemical, health, supply, manufacturing, so generally kind of ag, food-related stuff. Certainly semiconductor, electronics technology there, utilities, construction, more kind of infrastructure, and then computer science, CS. The smallest slice is for like pharmaceuticals. We've had a couple of projects through the U of I with some different fish probiotics, which are represented there. So that's only a couple of projects. The vast majority fall into the other 4 buckets. Not to say that we're limited to these buckets at all. There's no preference given necessarily to industry. We've just kind of seen this naturally happen. And as we go forward, we're always seeking to increase program awareness. We very rarely find folks that know what iGEM is, so we always wanted to talk about that as a way that, that businesses can partner with the state for research and development. As I mentioned earlier, we will maintain the competitive nature of the awards between the universities. We're trending toward larger grants, which we've seen be more impactful, so the council is definitely more favorable to those. And we're always working on a performance accountability for ourselves, for our university partners, and our private sector partners, to make sure that we're using these funds appropriately and that the outcomes that we're basing the application and awards on are actually being met, and we're ultimately creating jobs, increasing revenue, and economic impact throughout the state. So that is the iGEM program.
All right, so before we move to Dennis, it doesn't look like we have any questions pertaining to your updates, but I do want to say, John, we see your question, and one of us will get with you offline to help you answer that. I don't think that is in our realm, but we can certainly find out for you. So with that, let's move to Dennis.
Okay, thank you, Amanda. I want to talk about the Community Development Block Grant Program. This is a program that's funded by the U.S. Department of HUD and administered by the Idaho Department of Commerce. We receive, it's a formula grant that the state receives. We receive about $7.5 million a year, and then our requirement is to disperse those funds out to Idaho's cities and counties. Now, the only eligible applicants for the state CDBG funds are cities and counties, so you've got about 220 potential applicants, and recognize the size ranges from city of Twin Falls of about 49,000 down to the city of Clayton, which is population 20-ish, depending on the day, I'm sure. So we cover a big variety of our big population to small population for this program. We'll move on to the next slide, which is, as you can see, cities and counties are the eligible applicants. Now, cities and counties can subgrant the CDBG funds to special districts, such as a water district or a sewer district or even a fire district, or nonprofit organizations. A lot of times our senior center projects will be a nonprofit senior association, and the county may apply for the funds, and then on behalf of that senior organization or association. Entitlement cities, as you can see listed there, they do not qualify for the state CDBG as they get their funds directly from HUD. So those bigger cities cannot apply or are not eligible for these state CDBG funds. And one thing I don't have on one of these slides is, and it's a major factor of the program, is meeting a national objective. So a project has to meet a national objective, and there are 3 of them. The first one, which is the major one we deal with our projects, is it has to benefit low to moderate income persons. What does that mean? It means the service area of the project, so if it's a water district or a hospital district, 51% of the people residing within that district have to be low to moderate income. And we have those income numbers available on our website, and that can help you zero in to see if your community qualifies. We also have the census data as broken out on those communities that are considered low to moderate income. And that's one thing looked at, Robbie, and it was Emmett, when we looked at the census data and talked to you about, do they meet that LMI, and Emmett did not meet that 51% on your project out there at the fairgrounds. The second national objective, which is one we only use for our downtown revitalization projects, it's a slum and blight, the elimination or prevention of slum and blight. We call it redevelopment, so you'll hear us use that term more than slum and blight because that's a pretty negative term. But that's typically mostly for our downtown revitalization projects. And then the third national objective project would have, or the third one it would have to meet, you have to meet one of the 3, not all 3, is imminent threat. Hopefully you don't have to deal with that, but that could be a flood or fire that has caused damage to your public infrastructure. May have washed out. We've had culverts being washed out from flash floods. We've gone in to help counties replace those. So project has to meet that. Most likely you're going to be dealing with those benefiting low to moderate income. Now the projects you can do with CDBG funds, which is what's unique about this program, is the variety of projects you can do, which also can make it a little difficult in some of our set-asides and scoring systems. But so water and sewer, typically we do a lot of water and sewer projects. Cities and counties are trying to upgrade their systems. The cost of those projects does get pretty expensive. They don't have a lot of users, so it's a big demand on the fees of the residents, their monthly water rates. So the grant can help offset that. Streets and sidewalks, we can repair, replace. Those are typically for our downtown projects, as is surface water drainage systems, although I think we might see some projects based on all our snow and rain lately. Surface water drainage is becoming a bigger issue. We can also do fire and EMT stations. This does include fire engines. So the community or a fire district or cities looking to replace a fire engine, they could come to CDBG to help them cover that cost on a fire engine. And that's one thing I want to make note of is CDBG is not going to cover the entire cost of your project. You've got to bring matching funds to the table. We do medical facilities, we can do homeless shelters, domestic violence shelters, community and senior centers. On the next one, child care facilities, parks and recreational facilities. I'll talk a little more on that. Public infrastructure that serves affordable housing. Our dollars, as it just gets a little confusing, well, your HUD funds, and you should be able to build affordable housing with your block grant. We cannot do new construction of affordable housing, but we can do the infrastructure to new construction, or we can do the rehab of existing affordable housing. Parking facilities, sometimes in downtowns, that's an issue. You have a dirt parking lot, and nobody wants to park there because it's all muddy and the water never drains. So we have done parking facilities, parking lots in downtowns to help improve, people want to now come to your downtown as you have better parking. Solid waste facilities, we don't do many of those because they're hard to qualify on the area-wide basis. But in Fremont County, we've just started construction. We're involved in a partnership with the county to improve their solid waste facility there and get into more recycling. So it's an exciting project. And then utilities, we can also do publicly regulated utilities, improvements to those, upgrades to those. And a lot of times those might be in our job creation projects where a company needs improved power grid or more power or natural gas lines. You can use CDBG to help extend or improve those utilities. And then the other component is we do help pay, CDBG can pay for design professional costs as well as that are associated with these projects. That would be your architect or engineer. And we also do pay for the grant administrator to come along. That is required to be on the project. We do bring a number of federal requirements, so we want somebody, what we define as a grant administrator, that person to help ensure you're meeting the federal requirements that come with our projects. We do break our projects out into, let's see here, we have 6 set-asides now. We have public facilities set aside, and public facilities is also infrastructure. We have our downtown revitalization set aside. We have our job creation set aside, our senior and community center set aside, and imminent threat set aside. And then we also have coming up new, we'll talk a little more about it, our public park set aside. Let's go to the next screen. It's this is our 2016 projects. As you can see, just kind of want to give you an idea of what we have funded last year. So we had 2 water projects, a fire station, 1 hospital, 1 landfill. So you can see the variety under public facilities of what we're funding with CDBG. And like I said, that's what's unique and what I like about this program. It's the communities telling us what their needs are, not us telling them what we should be funding for them. And then you have your senior and community center projects that came in. We had 4 senior centers. A lot of times we'll help improve upgrade the kitchen facilities. I think we had 2 unique senior centers this year in that they had acquired existing buildings. And one of them was an old church that Senior Association of Wendell acquired. And that's going to work out well for their new senior center. And I suspect they'll be renting that out and bringing in some additional revenue. And then the other one was the city of Marcy, an old restaurant called the Sandbar that the seniors bought, and now they're going to turn it into their senior center, and then they'll be renting that out, and they have a grand opening coming up, I think, next Friday, is it?
27th.
So, and then we have our downtowns, 2 downtowns, 1 in Kuna, which is getting ready to bid, and then Fairfield, which probably has to wait because they have too much snow right now to lock project and start bidding. But just give you an idea of the projects we're funding. And then the next slide is our public parks. This is to be coming out. We expect the applications to be submitted. We've set the due date for September. Eligibility will be that low to moderate income area-wide benefit. And then what our focus will be is, because public parks has a different definition to probably everybody's got a different definition of what a public park is. Our focus will be on funding playgrounds, ADA accessibility, which could be the sidewalks or the bathrooms, splash pads, pools, and courts. And once again, this is to help make those improvements or possibly new construction of those activities, but recognize you've got to bring match to the table. And then our priority is also existing parks over new parks. So we're looking to help fund those parks that are already there, not looking to fund a brand new park. And the focus is on the neighborhood park. We're not going to be looking to fund community parks or what we call mini parks or linear parks such as green belts. And more to come on that. As we'll be putting that chapter into our website in our application handbook. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer.
Thank you.
Well, good afternoon. This is Jennifer Verdon. I'm the manager for the international team, and maybe just as a quick recap, the international team's primary focus is to work with small to medium-sized Idaho companies and to help them expand internationally, primarily via exports. My team is a 5-member team, including myself, and each of the staff members is assigned to a variety of industries. That really helps us to reach out to specific folks within our industries and specialize, understand what's going on, and just build a rapport with folks in our emerging and main industries in Idaho. The state of Idaho also has 3 overseas offices, one in Mexico, one in China, and one in Taiwan. The one in Taiwan also covers Southeast Asia. So with my local team and our overseas team, I'll cover some of the most recent activities that we participated in, some of our successes, and I'll cover some of our upcoming events and potential ways for you to engage with us or send companies our way to engage with my team. In the last fiscal year, so fiscal year 2016, my team and our overseas trade offices coordinated participation in 10 trade shows. We had 41 companies that traveled with us to international trade shows, and the trade shows were in the areas of technology, aerospace and defense, recreational technology, equine, medical equipment, and arms and ammunition. So those were the 10 trade shows that we attended in fiscal year 2016. We also had industry groups, foreign industry groups that visited the state of Idaho, and that was 5 different groups that came in 2016, and we facilitated meetings with Idaho companies within those foreign groups. So on the slide that you see on the screen, I highlighted specifically the State Trade Expansion Program. It's a federal program which has been a tremendous asset to us. It's been around since 2011. The funding comes from the Small Business Administration, so every year we, the international team, actually have to put together a proposal and apply to receive funding through the Small Business Administration. And so far, since 2011, we have been successful in receiving an award every year. So you see on the slide, since 2011, we were able to provide 248 financial assistance awards, and that was in the amount of over $1 million that went to Idaho small businesses. And the ROI on that was 32 to 1. So for every federal dollar spent, $32 were received in export sales by our Idaho companies. So it's a very highly successful program that has not just helped us to put better programs together, but definitely has helped our small businesses in Idaho achieve their export goals, and for some or a lot of the companies actually start exporting. And I apologize, I'm kind of going over a lot of different time periods. So some are fiscal years, some are, since 2011. So I highlighted, again, the fiscal year 2016. Again, this is under the State Trade Expansion Program. I mentioned 10 trade shows. The 10 trade shows, out of them, 5 were funded through the STEP program. They cost us $268,682, as you can see on the slide. And again, our ROI was about 9 to 1. It's a little bit lower, but that's because not all the sales reports are in yet from all the companies that have participated in it. You can see 28 companies went with us on those international trade shows. So by April, we will have all the sales reports, and hopefully that ROI will go up quite a bit. You can see on the right side a nice little graph about the financial assistance awards. And they are really awards that go to individual companies that want to pursue their own projects. So they're not the trade shows that I mentioned on the left side, but they are international sales trips or even website translations, and small businesses can apply to us to receive funding for that up to $15,000. So for fiscal year 2000, and this is our state fiscal year 2016, we awarded 36 financial awards, and you can see which cities or which companies out of which cities were awarded. Boise definitely sticks out, but this is a reminder to you and really encouragement to talk to your companies. We definitely would like to see this spread a little bit more throughout Idaho. There is bonus points available in our application for rural companies, so definitely help us get the word out, and we're always looking for new companies to provide this funding to. Oh, actually, sorry, I'll go back. And one other highlight, our Governor's Trade Mission that just concluded in November 2016. We went to China. We had a total of 14 companies with us. We organized this with the Idaho State Department of Agriculture, and 5 of those 14 companies were specifically commerce companies, so companies that fall under our jurisdiction, so to say. And so far, sales have been great. Companies have reported $300,000 worth of export sales that have gone on the Governor's Trade Mission with us. Again, we just came back in November, so there will be more sales to be reported in the near future. Okay, now we're moving on to the next slide. So what's to come? We have our trade managers that I mentioned from China, Mexico, and Taiwan visiting the state of Idaho. They will be here starting February 27th, and they will be going out, meeting with Idaho companies, strategizing with them on how they could break into their market or how they could achieve further successes in their respective markets. So if you're talking to companies that have interest in those markets, we would be happy to set up appointments with our trade managers while they're here in Idaho for 2 weeks. Then I'm also highlighting some of our trade shows that we will be participating in the following month. We will be participating in ISPO, which is the Recreational Technology Show in Germany. IWA, it's an Arm and Ammo show, also in Germany. And then CeBIT, a very famous technology show in Germany as well. And then in the summer, we're going to the Paris Air Show, aerospace show, and we will actually have the pleasure of taking Governor Otter with us. It's going to be fairly high level, and this might actually be a show that some of the economic development organizations might be interested in from a foreign direct investment perspective. So if you would be interested in joining that delegation, currently we have 11 Idaho companies joining us along with the governor and Director Ronk. So please contact me if you are interested in joining us in Paris, because who doesn't want to go to Paris? And then on the Select, or on the foreign direct investment side as well, Select USA Summit, it's the biggest foreign direct investment event taking place in the U.S. We partnered with a lot of different economic development organizations last year, and also the governor joined us. We had 10 economic development organizations last year in D.C. with us. So the event is taking place again June 18th through the 20th in Washington, D.C. Susie's group and myself are already starting to work and organize this conference and Idaho's participation. So if you are interested in promoting your region as a foreign direct investment destination, that's definitely the event to be. So please reach out to us and let us know how we can assist you with Select USA. And then, as I mentioned, we every year have to apply for the step to receive financial assistance through the Small Business Administration. So we're working on that right now, and we are hoping to be successful again. So in August or September, you'll be seeing an announcement, hopefully, that we were awarded another grant. So there will be future funding hopefully available, and we'd be looking for your assistance to get the word out. Okay, thank you very much.
Awesome, thanks. I believe is Diane.
I'm looking at you. Which button do I push to go forward?
Down. Down.
Or
left.
Right.
Down or right? Okay. Good afternoon. I'm Diane Norton. I'm the tourism manager, and I work with a team of awesome 6, and we are charged, and our mission is to increase pet tax collections in the state, which improves employment opportunities for people. And so I'm going to kick this off. This is not the tourism team you're looking at. However, that is a sharp-looking bunch of skiers. The highlights that I'm going to cover is 16 and what's in the queue for FY17. First of all, bed tax collections. Our office is funded by dedicated 2% bed tax, which is collected by lodging facilities across the state, private campgrounds, and most recently some vacation rentals. Within those collections, when we collect those collections, last year we had a banner year. We collected almost $10 million. And what that means to the state of Idaho is not only does that help us promote the state as a destination, but it also contributes to communities across the state. And what I mean by that, from 100% of these funds that are collected, 45% is granted out to tourism organizations across the state. So this is very exciting for those tourism organizations because they have the opportunity to tap into almost $4.5 million. And they could actually ask for grants for $4.5 million. So that was a very exciting year last year, and this year we are on record to also supersede, hopefully, $10 million. One of the areas that we have invested in is research. So we invested in the Dean Runyon report, we invested in a long list research report, and what that did is the long list research told us who the Idaho traveler is, and I encourage you to go to tourism.idaho.gov and click on the research, and you'll find the Longwoods and the Dean Runyon research on that particular page. So when we look at who the Idaho traveler is, we can see the percentage in the breakout and where they're coming from in this particular graph. Top reasons that they come to visit Idaho. Everybody knows they come to visit family and friends, but that's really important, especially as the state begins to grow in the population. We know that they love to experience our outdoors, and also they want to come and tour the different travel regions around our state. And how are the visitors spending their vacation dollars? $3 billion was spent by tourists in Idaho. That's a big number, and there's all the distribution chart that shows you where they spend their funds when they come to visit us. The industry, tourism ranks number 3 in the GDP, $1.3 billion, which is very exciting. So we're behind ag, we're behind tech, but we're getting closer.
Kind of.
Kind of. Yeah, kind of. My math, we're getting closer. And also last year we received huge kudos from the U.S. Travel Association, which is the organization that all states collectively belong to. And from all of the 50 states, we received 2 Mercury Awards, one for our digital marketing, 18 Summers, and one for our winter campaign, which was Visit ID. So we're very excited about that. You can be very proud of Idaho because we had 2 Mercury Awards that came out of that. From all the 50 states, we received 2. Idaho did. Now what's coming up for FY17? You will notice when you go to visitidaho.org, it has been completely reinvented, and so that you can actually take this, it's very portable, so you can take our website from your desktop to your phone. You can travel with it wherever you're going. So you'll see right now we have our winter campaign, hashtag for the winter, and as we move forward into our content development, we'll be adding our trip guides, which include all of the content about different areas that you can travel. But more importantly, our strategy moving forward for our content development is for us to own our own assets. And what I mean by that is that we'll be owning photography, we'll be owning video, and that gives the opportunity to people across the state to use those assets without being worried about any type of copyright infringement. We'll also be attached to the content development for this particular year, is we're also going to have a photo library that you can log in and collect those assets and use them as you need be. This is a teaser slide. It's almost 5 o'clock, so I slipped this in, and I'm ahead of what I'm ahead of what I can announce. So I'll say in 2 weeks, this slide will be pertinent, and you'll be hearing about a project that we're working on with the Idaho Brewers Guild. So I will just leave it at that. That's all I can say. Sorry, guys, I put it in. I kind of jumped the gun. I'm hopeful that most of you know that a large event is happening on August 21st, which is the eclipse. From the tourism side, we are putting together a planning booklet that will be available online and to all communities across the state. And the reason why we're encouraging all the communities across the state to download this is because people will be coming in from all directions. We want to make sure everybody is educated about what's happening during the eclipse. This will be ready at the end of this month, and it will be available to you, and we'll be reaching out to communities across the state to make sure that they have this planning document in hand. I want to make you also aware of an event that is happening in Idaho. It's called Adventure Elevate. It'll be in Coeur d'Alene. This is the first time that it has been in Idaho. We're very excited about this. This will be about 300 media tour operators coming in to learn about what is available in Idaho. Myself and Lori McConnell, who runs our PR, will be joining them, and we'll be identifying the media that have an affinity for Idaho and doing a pre-fam and getting them acclimated to the state before they spend 2 days in Coeur d'Alene. So I encourage you to Google this, Adventure Elevate, Coeur d'Alene. That'll pop up. If you can come, please attend. This is an awesome opportunity for Idaho. And with that, I ask you to engage with us on Twitter, engage with us on Facebook, and engage with us on Visit Idaho. Thank you so much.
All right, next is Susie Davidson. Close your eyes.
Hello, everyone. This is Susie. I hope that you're all familiar with our team. We have two senior business attraction specialists, Eric Forsch and Autumn Bresci, and we have Patrick Watson, who's our senior research specialist, and we have a job opening now that we're hoping to fill within the next couple of weeks. I wanted to start off with this beautiful picture. It's a picture of the Aspen Snowmass Limelight Hotel when it started to be built in Ketchum. Yes. And to me, it epitomizes the perfect economic development picture because it's sustaining and maintaining that beauty that is Idaho, but then also you have to have the economic development to keep people here and to have jobs. And I think it's beautiful. And I think they're booking now.
Yes.
Yeah.
And over this one.
Oh, tomorrow.
Yeah.
See? Hey, funny how that happened. So that was pretty exciting. That was one of our TRI awards. So that's good. Let's. It's not going. Set down.
Let's try it now.
What?
Go.
Oh, down and to the right. Down and to the right. All right. Let's look at TRI, site visits, incoming leads, wins, and some facts and data. And I, like Jennifer, have kind of two different sets of numbers. We'll do it by fiscal year and biannual. But last year, we had 120 leads that came into our group. It's above the year before, which was 115, and we had 70 site visits. And those are the two things that we use across the street to measure one of the things that we do to measure our effectiveness. The 70 site visits include companies coming here, us going there, and also virtual site visits, which site selectors have started now because it's pretty darn expensive to bring these teams of people here, so they'll have a meeting in a room with all of us in there. So this has been an upward trend, and our conversion rate's been high, so that's a good sign. If you look at TRI, I have to tell you some late-breaking news that this is our second year, and the second year annual report is out there on the website. So I encourage all of you to go out there and curl up with it. Cindy and team and Patrick did a great job putting all the data together. And this is really exciting. This year we had 6 of our TRI awards who actually qualified to be paid their grant money. So we had 6 companies and $424,494 in payouts. That represented 906 jobs with an average wage of $54,824. And that average wage is pretty critical. That's even higher than Ada County's average wage. And so the essence of TRI was to improve meeting or exceeding the county rates, and I think we have the facts and data to say that we did that. If you look at all the TRI results, we've approved 33 over the 2.5 years that we've had TRI. When people say, well, you could get up to 30 years, 30% for 15 years, really, if you want, you can talk to customers about that, but what you might want to say is that the average offer is 22% for 10 years, and that puts a little bit more reality around what they can actually get. But of all those projects, we've had over 5,000 jobs. Within all those projects, the average wage is $46,998, which is still above Ada County's wage, so that's the highest county in the state. About $2 billion in payroll, over $200 million in direct state taxes that came into us for a cost of about $60 million and some change for the incentive. So if you take every dollar of the incentive and put it against the taxes we received, it's about a 4.24 return on investment, which is something I think we can all be proud of. Something we don't talk a lot about with TRI because it isn't a requirement, which is CapEx, but I think it's kind of like the cherry on top, is of those 33, we have $964 million and some change in capital expenditure that came into the state. Pretty high numbers. Concern that we all had and the legislature had was, are these all going to be urban? Are they all going to be new companies coming in? Those are the people who will take advantage of this. And these two top statistics have remained the same. Now I have to admit, urban and rural, rural's pulled ahead a little bit, 18 to 15, but existing versus new is still pretty much head-to-head, which I don't think we could ask for anything better than to have these statistics come out that way, and it makes us happy. And the industries that we look at, of course, manufacturing is number one on the list. We have aerospace, food, corporate, software. That travel and tourism are the two hotels that were granted awards in Ketchum, education services, and warehousing and distribution. And here are some wins. Wins, I just did an annual report back to January of last year, and I pulled out some of the ones that were new and exciting TRI awards to talk through a little bit. Vista Outdoors is also known as, we're probably more familiar, ATK. That was 137 jobs in Lewiston. Orgill is a distribution of hardware. They distribute hardware to independent, teeny tiny hardware stores. And they've been in business since 1857. And they said it was like a dream come true to take over that Kendall office building up in Post Falls, which had been vacant for 3 or 4 years. It was 138 jobs, and like I said, it was up in Post Falls. Burley had a great coup this year, and they brought in Dow Chemical, and they are going to make styrofoam, polystyrene insulation for buildings. So if you're driving around, you see blue on the outside of the building, that's what they're making there. And that's why the project was named Project Blue. And there were 21 employees, and that was in Region 4. And I have to say, all of these represent regions 1, 2, 3, 4, and 7. So that's something else that we look for when we look at this program, are all parts of the state benefiting from it. Wood grain millwork was 91 jobs in Fruitland and Emmett, and they bought the old mill in Emmett that had been closed forever, and so they did an expansion, which was good for Emmett. The V and the upside V is V Valley, and it's a woman's athletic and workout wear company. 43 jobs. Start out, I think the owner is from Australia, and they're moving their headquarters and going to Ketchum. Hearthside Food Solutions. Hearthside is they own the United States' largest bakery. And hardly anyone knows who they are because they're third-party contract bakers. So they do all the baking for all of the other companies, so they kind of lay low. But the good part of that is they came here to Idaho to take over the Power Bar building, which was closed, shuttered, and everyone there lost their jobs, so now they're back in business. Leeds Look and Listen is a custom stereo speaker shop. They do multi-million-dollar stereo systems, working with architects to put them in custom houses. 73 jobs, and you guessed it, Cary, Idaho, which 73 jobs in Cary, Idaho is a wonderful thing. So we were very happy for Cary, Idaho. And finally, the proposed College of Osteopathic Medicine, which Megan worked on, which is 90 jobs in Meridian. So I think we had a dang good year. Just a reminder, I wanted to let you all know that we do have these tools available: Hoover's, Dun & Bradstreet, Implant and Enzy, Gem State Prospector. Patrick is more than willing to work with all of our partners out there in the field to do customized research. The only caution I will say specifically for Hoover's and Dun & Bradstreet, we have a contract with them, and we have in our subscription we can use their information. We can do it for our partners in the state because we represent all of you. What we don't do is do research for companies in the private sector out there for marketing research, because Hoover's and Dun & Bradstreet would like to sell them their own Hoover's and Dun & Bradstreet, so they don't particularly like us taking on that role. But anything else, Patrick is flexible and will be happy to help you out. Just a reminder too, we contracted with Enzy to do that regional economic analysis, which tells all the regions what they're good at, what's growing, what's shrinking. We've had, since we announced it last year, we've had multiple communities come in and ask to take that next step where they can look at what companies they have there, what supply chain gaps are there, who they might want to recruit, and go more in-depth in that analysis, and Patrick's more than happy to help you all with that too. So I think that's it. One thing I hope you all heard, Dennis, I didn't know that Greenbelt was a linear park. Isn't that that's a new term for me? But it makes sense, doesn't it? It's just like a long, skinny park that goes for 20 miles.
Yeah, we've been learning a lot about parks.
I guess the thing is, we don't fund them. That's what we have to remember, right? Okay.
They're hard to qualify. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susie. Right, so I don't see any questions up here, but that doesn't mean you guys don't have any. So if you have any, now's the time to type them in. If you have anything that you think of later, here's our contact information. I will say that the one team not represented here today was our Business Retention and Expansion team, formerly the Economic Development team. They will be presenting in February, though, so they will have the whole time there. So please do tune in for that, because they have a lot on the horizon and they want to talk about their new retention and expansion efforts in the state of Idaho. Oh, there was a question on the Equestrian Center, John. That is true. I'm going to have Jennifer follow up with you on that offline as well. So we have two things to talk about after this is over. If there are any other questions? Do you guys have anything else to add?
Nope. Right. Happy New Year.
Happy. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.